everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. I'm Stephen Cabral, board-certified naturopathic doctor. Thank you so much for joining me here today on our Total Wellness Tuesday show, where I want to do a really important follow-up to episode 860. That was the hidden cause behind chronic inflammation. I got so much feedback from that show that people wanted to know more about what are these high histamine foods, where do they come from, how can we reduce them so that we can reduce overall inflammation in the body. Because on that show, for the first time maybe ever, people started to see that there's more to inflammation than maybe just a food sensitivity or, maybe environmental sensitivities. There's actually a hidden process within the body that very few doctors even speak about. We get all of these cytokines and chemicals that are created from anything from leaky gut, intestinal permeability, certain foods we eat, IBS, Crohn's, colitis, certain medications, especially the ibuprofens, allergies, we talked about that, food sensitivities, environmental triggers, grass, mold, all of those items, and then also estrogen, right? The more estrogen we're producing, we can also start to produce more of these histamines in our body. So what I want to do today is I want to go through all of those triggers just real quick. We can go over a brief overview, but I also want to provide you with the food list. So I want you to think about the foods and make it super simple for you to remember the foods that can help you to reduce your triggers for inflammation, which can show up as anything from brain fog, fatigue, muscle pain, joint pain, itchy skin, bloating, acid reflux, any one of those things. And of course, we talked about before the lethargy, the myalgic encephalomyelitis, the POTS, all of those things. I mean, and if you've heard that before, if you've been diagnosed with that from conventional medicine, you have to understand there's always underlying root causes. And what happens is with this thing called mast cell activation syndrome, and I'm going to talk about this today, but really what I want you to do is listen to today's show. You'll understand the foods that are one of the culprits, but you'll be able to then go back to episode 860. If you haven't listened to that, please do check out that show, because what it does is it actually goes through the chemical processes of how this happens in the body. Because remember, I'm not going to repeat the previous shows. What I want to do is build off of it. So if you go back and you really make listening to the Cabral Concept part of your education, I'm telling you right now, I honestly believe you will know more than most natural health practitioners and most doctors out there. That's not to slight any health practitioners or doctors. What I'm saying is all I'm doing is accumulating 3,000 plus books that I've read. I can't even tell you, well over 100 seminars I've attended. I've traveled all over the world, and all I'm trying to do is bring the work from all of these masters all over the world and bring all the textbooks, all the knowledge, all the seminars that I've gone to, and be able to pull it together. Like, that's my job. Really, that's what I believe the Cabral Concept's all about. That's what I want my life's work to be about. It's not saying like, oh, I created this, I did this. Well, my job, my one thing is to be able to consume massive amounts of information. That's what I do. And then I can pull it together in a way that I see works in the real world. And then again, like if there's one thing that I do, that's it. It's assimilate the research from PhDs in the labs. But then it's also, hey, look at all these people doing it in the real world. And what about the thousands and thousands of years of Eastern-based medicine? Let's not forget that. Let's put it all together. Let's form one system of medicine that has never been invented before. This is a brand new form of medicine that truly takes in everything. Why don't we take in everything? So there's no ego. Nobody's form of medicine has to be the best. That's it. Like, acupuncture is incredible, so is chiropractic, so is Reiki, so is massage therapy, so is exercise with personal trainers, so is therapeutic-based counseling, so is literally everything, right? I don't have to name them all. They're all great, and they all have their own way in which they can help you. But what if we could pull them together? And you could draw upon that, so when you needed it in order to heal your body or a family member's body, right, and mind, let's not forget the mind as well. The mind and the body are intimately attached, that you have that knowledge base. So if you go back and you listen to the previous Cabral Concepts, and we're going to make it even easier in the next couple months on iTunes, we're going to label them all. So it's episodes essentially 1 through 299, we'll say 300 for easy, and 300 through 600, and 600 through 900. And the reason is iTunes, at least right now, only allows you to go back to the last 300 shows. So what we're going to do is we're going to categorize them. We're going to break them up. And in just about a month or so, I'm going to start teaching people in depth about Ayurvedic medicine. Please stay tuned for that, because what you're seeing right now on Instagram and online and all these quizzes is not correct. It is not correct Ayurvedic medicine. And again, I did not invent Ayurvedic medicine, but it's completely false. I see all these people saying what their dosha is. And I'm not judging or trying to come down. I'll explain this in the future. when I do my show on how to figure out your own Ayurvedic dosha. But it's misinformation. It's really surface level Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is not surface level. You cannot skim Ayurveda. It's like homeopathy. Those people that have truly studied homeopathy, and again, I don't use a lot of homeopathy in my work, but I've studied it in depth. We're talking close to, I would say, at least 60 books on homeopathy, and quite a bit of my board exam was on homeopathy. And again, just because I don't use it doesn't mean that I don't think that maybe there's usefulness for it and that it's not in depth. It is in depth. You cannot use this on a surface level. And please just be very careful of what you believe your dosha is, because most people have a difficult time diagnosing their own dosha. You have to have someone else do it for you. Or I'm going to give you a very straightforward binary, like, is this you or not? Is this you or not? And just again, it's incorrect. Dosha diagnosis is incorrect as we know it. I'm telling you right now. And the reason is that they are taking into account the person's personality. That is not what you can do for your initial dosha assessment. Your personality can change by firstborn or last or how you grew up or traumas or any one of those things. So again, like I'll talk about this in depth. I don't want to use that for today's show. But what I want to do is I want to go back to and just let you understand that on the Cabral concept, we're going to keep building every single week and every single month. And we're going to lay out a full functional medicine education and naturopathic and Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine, all of these herbalism. And we're pulling it all together. And you see that orthomolecular medicine. Every Friday, I talk about our super nutrient of the week. Sometimes it's a vitamin, sometimes it's herb, sometimes it's an amino acid, sometimes it's an actual neurotransmitter. And the reason we do that is so that you have your own education. You don't need to rely on anyone else, right? It's yours. You own it. It's your education. And you can go at any time to stephencabral.com/podcasts, and you can type in a search word like quercetin, and you'll see the super nutrient of the week, the Friday review I did on quercetin. And then you can learn everything that you need to know in a nutshell about quercetin. And then if you want to do more in-depth study, absolutely. But now you know where to go and how to get into it. So anyway, I'm excited about how we are absolutely growing the community over at cabralsupportgroup.com, which is our free Facebook group. But really, each and every episode, the responses that I get drive me to keep pushing forward. And then ultimately this fall, when we launch our health certification for other practitioners out there. And then also, like I said, for every household, I hope to have one person in that household leading the charge on their family's health. So super excited. And that was a little bit of a tangent. I didn't expect to go there, but I did. And I just kind of let it free flow. So what I want to do right now is get into this thing about how to eliminate certain foods to reduce brain fog, to reduce allergies, to reduce bloating, to reduce some muscle burning, basically fatigue in the body. And again, I'm not going to rehash episode 860, where I gave you the mechanisms behind how mast cells in the body, histamines in the body, create these chemical messengers, we'll call them, that can then actually wreak havoc if your body has already reached its maximum. What do we call that? Well, that's called the rain barrel effect. So if your rain barrel is already full, right, from stress, poor hormones, poor eating, not enough sleep, all of those things that I talk about in the rain barrel effect, heavy metals, yeast overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, well, what's going to happen is that you're not able to eliminate these histamines from your body in the proper way. Now, because histamines are not all bad. They're absolutely not. They're chemical messengers. They're good until we have too many, right? Like in life, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So it's this mast cell activation syndrome begins to make us more inflamed and run down and bloated and acid reflux and brain fog. Those are just some of the reasons. Again, like not all of those come from mast cell activation, but I'm telling you right now, in my practice, from a clinical perspective, I see it play out. I see about 1 in 4 people that this helps tremendously. The medical literature, if you just go by that, says about 1 in 5. So again, like as I said before, really not too far off. And why do so many people have so many issues with histamines and histamine-type foods? And I'll give you those in just one moment. Because the most popular diet of the day is low carb or basically no carb. And what happens is your microbiome gets thrown off. People are not understanding this. It's this short-term mentality of, I need to go super low carb or I need to do keto. And like, I get it. I understand. It works great in terms of losing body fat, but not for the long term. It works great for like 3 to 6 weeks. And then you're supposed to not stay low carb forever. Like that is not a natural human inclination either. Humans would want to say, okay, I can make it through times of, famine or low food, but eventually food is you've found, right? Right. That's like literally part of human evolution and how we moved. We wanted lots of carbs. We wanted lots of tubers. And those things allowed also for the microbiome, our gut bacteria, to flourish. Because without that balanced good gut bacteria, we don't produce as much of the enzymes to actually degrade and break down histamines. And that enzyme is called diamine oxidase, or DAO. You might hear me refer to it either way on today's show. And that's also why people undergoing chemotherapy have such a hard time with histamine-based issues. And one of those reasons specifically is because we're wiping out a lot of the good gut bacteria, and we're also causing the leaky gut, the gastrointestinal damage, just like Crohn's and colitis and celiac. And, when we have intestinal-based surgery, or we have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or we're drinking tap water that's full of chlorine and fluoride, we're taking NSAIDs, basically Advil, right? Ibuprofen. All of those things can start to open up that gut wall, that intestinal wall. And this can lead to even then more food sensitivities and immune activation, because those proteins we just eat, you could be eating healthy proteins, but they seep through that gut wall. Then all of a sudden what happens is it turns on that immune system to a higher degree. So when people say we don't know what causes autoimmune-based issues, well, we do. We do know that at least one cause, or at least one thing that exacerbates all autoimmune-based conditions, is leaky gut. And we now know that 90% of all people with autoimmune issues have some intestinal permeability. So again, if you have an autoimmune issue and you haven't done the organic acids test, and you haven't done the stool test, and you haven't done food sensitivity testing, well, you might be missing out on a lot of the root causes of why you have that condition in the first place. So when people ask us, why are we able to help people with autoimmune conditions, it's because we don't try to treat the autoimmune condition. To be honest, I care that you have rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's or sarcoidosis or multiple sclerosis or lupus or anything, right? I care about that. I do, because I care about your story. I care about you as a person. But what I don't really care about is the name of that disease. I care about your symptoms because I want to watch them go away. But what I really care about is getting to that deep root cause. And I know that if I don't fix the immune cells, if I don't calm one side of your immune system, typically the Th1 side of the immune system, and I can't fix that by calming down the immune aggravation by sealing up that gut wall, well, then I know I really can't fix your autoimmune-based issues. And again, as a naturopath, I don't diagnose, I don't treat disease. What I do is I look at there's intestinal permeability, there's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, there's parasites, there's heavy metals, there's a lack of vitamin C, there's a lack of B vitamins. I can find all those things. Those are your root causes. I can empty the rain barrel. I can give you a Dr. Ball detox. I can do things to empty that. And then all of a sudden, people start to heal. Why do they heal? Because I took care of the foundation. It's the foundation that's missing. Remember, no naturopath, no doctor, no anybody could heal your body. But what you can do is you can put yourself in position by getting on the right program, figuring out what's wrong with you, and then allow your body to heal itself. But you have to give it the raw material. That's why when people say, I don't want to use any nutritional supplements, I say, you know what? You're really hampering yourself. You really are. Because your body is in such a weak condition to ask it to try to break down the amount of food that you would need to eat in order to extract all that nutrition is going to be really challenging. Now, you could juice all day long, and that'll be helpful. But what you really need is just even 12 to 16 weeks of replenishing a lot of the vitamins and the minerals that you're missing. And then you can start to wean off the nutritional supplements. But give yourself the time to heal at least, right? Give yourself that ability to strengthen the digestive system so that you can then rebound, restore, and then go back to living that life that you truly want. I support people in any way that I want. I just know that you can heal so much faster by using both state-of-the-art functional medicine, orthomolecular medicine, as well as, whole food nutrition. Again, we use both. Food always comes first, but we don't want people to suffer, and we can help them by giving them true forms of good third-party tested nutritional supplements. So let's move on. A lot of the things I already named, the allergies, the estrogen dominance, stress, a lot of alcohol intake, especially like red wine, all of these things, or wine in general, can exacerbate the histamines and exacerbate the mast cell activation syndrome, right? And you'll find out more about that by tuning into 860. But again, if you're someone dealing with allergies and itchiness and puffy eyes and flushing, like heavy menstrual-based cramps or PMS-based symptoms, swelling of the ankles and the feet, high blood pressure, insomnia, rapid heart rate, diarrhea or constipation, bloating, because it can alternate, but usually it's more looser stool, really fatigued muscles or a lot of lactic acid buildup. That's what I had in my muscles, especially asthma, migraines, headaches. So just keep in mind, these can all be from high histamines. Now, it's not the only reason to get these things, but high histamines can be one of those. And that's because there's been so much gut-based degradation, meaning that too many heavy metals in the body, too much poor food eating, too much alcohol, too many drugs, too many pharmaceuticals, right? Too much amoxicillin, too many antibiotics, too much birth control can all really degrade the gut. And that's where this starts, right? It starts with the gut. No, I shouldn't say it always does, but almost always does. And that's because the gut is really supposed to be, a lot of people say, well, it's your second brain. All that's true. All of it's true. It can lead to anxiety, depression. But what I want to tell you is this, is that from your mouth all the way through to your anus is 29 feet, 28 feet, 29 feet, somewhere around there, right? Depends on the size of the human. So here's the deal, though. That's supposed to be the outside of our body. Remember, you swallow the food, goes down the esophagus, goes into the stomach, moves outside of the gastric valve, it goes into the duodenum, and then it moves through the entire small intestine. I'll save you going through the whole part. And then it goes through the large intestine, which is about 6 feet, and then goes out of your anus, right? So your body only is supposed to allow in the good stuff through the cell wall permeability, through your gut wall, and that's only a single cell. But what happens is, because of the alcohol, amoxicillin, stress, poor food combining, et cetera, that gut wall begins to open up. Instead of tiny little tight junctions of gaps, it increases. And we know this in conventional medicine, and we know it in naturopathic medicine. So it's not just one form of medicine. Well, what happens then is proteins spill through, inflammation gets triggered, again, food sensitivities, all these things. And again, it's not my opinion. I only give you fact on the Cabral concept. Now, sometimes I will give you theory and opinion, but I will always tell you, here's my theory on this because it hasn't been proven yet. No one's been able to prove it. Why not give you my theory from what I've seen in 250,000 client appointments of what might likely be proven in the future, right? Because I can see it play out. I will tell you that always ahead of time. If I don't say it, it's fact. It's proven by research. And again, not my research, conventional medicine's research. And I like to put that out there because a lot of people say like, oh, I don't believe in naturopathy. Like, well, okay, well, fine. Like, naturopathy is science. We're just using natural herbal and vitamins and all those other things that have also been proven through science. So it's all science-based, and it's not really religion like a lot of people say. It's not like, this is straightforward, meaning like it works or it doesn't work, and we show you it doesn't work as well. So I always like to point that out. Okay, what I want to do now is I actually want to go into the high histamine foods because I told you that's what we'd go over today. So this is really important because I want to simplify this. I'm going to give you the food list, but I want to simplify it for you, right? So histamine foods are primarily in all aged, fermented, smoked, cured, or cultured foods. What does that mean? Well, it's foods like salami and processed turkey or cheese or prosciutto, any of those smoked or processed or cured meats, right? Very high in histamines. What else? Ripe cheeses, okay? Or aged cheeses, like your aged cheddar. Well, that's my Boston accent coming right out there, the aged cheddar. So that cheddar has a lot of histamines in it, and that will also cause sometimes itchiness in the back of the throat, eyes watering, skin flushing, hives. That's an immediate reaction. But again, these histamines can build up in the body, begin to fill up your rain barrel, and cause the brain fog a couple hours later, or headaches, or maybe it's the next day. A lot of people get them the next day as well. What else would be examples? Well, sauerkraut or fermented foods, apple cider vinegar. That's why we eliminate these things specifically from our candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, because we test the organic acids test, or we'll test the stool test, or both, and we'll see that this person has yeast overgrowth, or they have bacterial overgrowth, or they have both. And we say, okay, fine, or they have parasites. And we say, let's remove these, because we know that they're triggers. That's why we tell people, you're not cured, and I have that in air quotes, in 21 days. So we get people to feel much, much better within 21 days. And that's because we've dramatically, emptied their rain barrel. Like literally, we've took out the fermentable foods, the smoked foods. We took all this out. So people ask me like, oh, you're just putting people on a FODMAP diet. Nope, not even close. It's only part of it. Remember, this is over a decade of my work. It's not a year of my work. It's over a decade that this part is. We know the foods that are fermentable. We know the foods that are smoked. We know the foods that are inflammatory. So when people go on our program, what they find is a dramatic lessening of immune response in the body. When that happens, they sleep better. When that happens, they have less inflammation. They have more energy. They don't have the brain fog, the headaches. They don't have the diarrhea. Like all these things happen because we've dramatically eliminated their triggers. And then what do? After the 21 days, we begin to add them back in one at a time. The healthy foods, of course. The unhealthy foods can just be their flex meal once a week of whatever they choose to eat, right? And they get to see, okay, even on a flex meal, what affects them and what doesn't. We have people even with celiac have gluten after they get better, meaning like after they've healed their gut and they have no reaction. We say, we're not recommending that you eat gluten, but you can see as your body becomes stronger and it becomes more flexible and tolerable, you don't get that same immune reaction. We're saying don't do that, but if you were to get some in there, it may not be as big a deal to you. And again, this is obviously a case-by-case basis. So really, really important to understand that. One other thing is people think you can somehow cook out histamines. You can't. That's why in leftover food or like especially protein, so like if you eat leftovers the next day, I tell this story quite often, but this woman had acid reflux her whole life. She basically, as a teenager, and she was always on Prilosec and all this, so we wanted to help her get off the medication. And we said the only way is to get to our baseline. So we did. We took out everything. She was still getting acid reflux in the afternoon. And I said, I don't understand this. We took out all the histamines. We took all these different foods. And we said, I just asked her, I was like, please keep a food journal for me for just 1 week. Send it in to me. I took a look at it. And I'm like, it still looks fine. So then I asked her, I said, tell me, I'm like, where are you getting your lunches? She's like, I prep them on Sunday night and I'm still eating them by Wednesday. And I go, that's it. I'm like, that's it. Leftovers are high in histamines, the proteins especially. She was having just fish or chicken or beef or whatever left over. And so I looked at it and I said, that's it. I said, I want you to do fresh for a week. I know it's not as convenient for you. Just try it. Acid reflux, gone. That was it. It was gone. That's why it's there. You can always figure it out. I can't explain this or shout it from the rooftops enough. You can figure out everything. You can figure out every health ailment. You can figure out every weight gain-based issue. You can figure out every aging-based issue. You can figure it all out. You absolutely can. Sometimes it's a needle in the haystack. This was a needle in a haystack. It was leftovers. If I didn't ask the question, we would have never figured it out. But remember, I didn't ask the question initially. It took me a long time because I didn't even know to ask that question, but there it was right there. I looked at it. Everything looked good on paper, but I said, what else can it be? And I started just to run through my head and just run through. I'm like, okay, where was the food? Let's just take this step by step. Because maybe I thought it was cooked in something, but it was leftovers. That was it. You have probably your own out there and you'll be able to figure it out. So remember, this thing called histidine decarboxylase, and that is the enzyme that essentially is allowing the bacteria and yeast in these specific protein-based foods. So it's not really going to come from your veggies too much or your starches, although I will name the veggies as well. And again, you can't cook it out. So what you really want to do is would ideally like to have fresh food, but probably the most fresh that has to be is fish. Fish that's frozen. As long as it's frozen once it's caught, then totally fine to do as well. And in my opinion, I have this thing called mastocytosis, which just means it's a genetic-based issue, that I'm more prone to mast cell production, and I'm more prone to not producing as much of the enzyme called diamine oxidase. You might not be that bad, but I'll tell you right now, I can have histamine-based foods, and my eyes don't swell up anymore, and they're not all itchy, and my belly doesn't get itchy, and I don't get the headaches from it anymore. So I'm telling you, even myself, someone who genetically is predisposed to this, can still do these specific things. And on last episode, I gave you all the tests to do. I gave you all the vitamins to take. What I want to do right now is just simply read over the high histamine list and just give you exactly what you will want to know in terms of those foods, and we'll keep it at that for the day. Okay, so the highest histamine foods, I'm going to read them right off for you, are spinach, tomatoes, sauerkraut, alcohol of all kinds, aged cheeses, smoked or processed meats, ready-made meals, leftovers, leftover cooked meats, all processed meats, smoked foods, non-fresh fish, anchovies, sardines, mackerel, shellfish, crustacean, beans, nuts, sunflower seeds, dried fruit, cinnamon, cloves, paprika, nutmeg, chili powder, anise, seasoning packets, foods with spices, pickled or canned foods, vinegar containing food condiments such as mustard, soy sauce, teriyaki, salty snacks with preservatives or artificial color, wheat-based products, flavored syrups, ketchups, prepared dessert fillings, iced fillings and frostings, and most sweets, candies, basically. Okay, those are your high histamine foods, but remember, you don't need to memorize them. Ask yourself, is this food smoked? Has it been aged? Is it fermented? That's essentially what you need to ask yourself. That's it. Because remember, leftovers would basically be aged. You can think of it that way. So people ask me, can I have kombucha on the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol? You know my answer. It would be no. It's aged. It's fermented, right? You're not going to put that in your system right away. Could you have it after the program's over, 8 to 12 weeks? Sure. Try it out. Do you feel good with it? Yes or no? We always ask for 3 results. Positive result, you feel better. Neutral result, you feel the same. Negative result, you start to feel worse. Okay? And then you give yourself the answer. Like, you know the answer. But remember, you can always begin to fill up that rain barrel. So you have to be careful because sometimes it's not the first introduction. So I want you to keep those in mind. And there are others that we give people that are histamine liberators, meaning like things that don't have a lot of histamines in them, but they will exacerbate mast cell-based production, such as more of the fruits: papaya, pineapples, prunes, plums, raspberries, strawberries, bananas, most citrus fruit, and alcohol. I don't want to go through all of those. And the reason is I don't want you to worry about all of the good, healthy fruit. I want you to mainly eliminate the biggest triggers, which are, again, those smoked, aged, or fermented-based foods. I want you to look at this as a overall big picture. Then if you want to, of course, you can look up all the other ones. And, of course, anybody with allergies and asthma or is on one of our protocols, we give this, obviously, this full list to them. And then other things, a lot of people don't understand this, but one way, if you have a lot of histamines, a lot of allergies, brain fog, all of these items, there are things called diamine oxidase blockers. A lot of people don't know about this, but I've really gone deep down the rabbit hole on this topic. And what you want to look at is that alcohol is not only a high histamine food or beverage, it's also a histamine liberator, and it blocks diamine oxidase. That's why alcohol is such a huge trigger food for people to make them feel terrible, essentially. But also black teas, energy drinks, green teas, mate or tea, and a lot of different spices can block that diamine oxidase production. So that's one way to look at all the different facets of histamine foods. And then again, please tune into my last show, episode 860, if this topic interests you, because you'll get to see all my natural antihistamines that I recommended, such as our Equilibrium Nutrition product, HistPro, and also Balanced Zinc and Alkalizing Vitamin C. Why those? Well, our Balanced Zinc contains zinc and copper, which are required to make your own diamine oxidase to degrade your own histamines. That's why, remember I told you that it's so important in the beginning to fill up your stores, your natural vitamin mineral stores? Well, supplements do that at a very quick rate. So our Balanced Zinc, which we gave away free all last month, we literally gave it away. I'll try to link it up today, contains zinc and copper. And then our activated B complex. If you don't have enough B vitamins, you're not going to be able to produce that diamine oxidase, especially vitamin B6. You hear me talk about that. That's like the number one B vitamin that nobody speaks about. Everybody talks about folate. Everybody talks about B12. Nobody talks about B6. I'm here to give B6 a lot of love on the Cabral concept. And then quercetin, amazingly powerful, right? Amazingly powerful, and vitamin C. All of these things are on our HistPro. They're in our alkalizing vitamin C. They're in our activated B complex. And they're in our Balanced Zinc, besides your, of course, your daily nutritional support shake. So those are the ones you use initially, at least, to really knock down the histamine-based issues with the elimination of the high histamine foods. And then you running tests like the organic acids test, the hair tissue mineral analysis, the stool test, the food sensitivity test, the omega-3 test, whatever. Like, you can run the whole Dr. Ball Big Five, or you can choose the tests that are in your price range right now, or whatever works for you. Remember, I want to give you the information. It's your decision. This is your body. This is your mind. It's your choice of what you feel is best for you. But this is how we repair people's body. I want other health practitioners to copy this in their practice. And I want you to get the same results I've been able to get for people. And then those people who aren't working with a health practitioner will begin to implement all this content, all this information in your life, in your children's life, in your parents' life. I'm telling you, it doesn't make just a small difference. It makes a world of difference. It changes people's lives. This is why I want you to share this content as much as you can. It's not my content. It's not your content. These are just universal truths of how we've always healed our body over thousands of years. So hopefully today's show was helpful. I love doing these shows. Really, really enjoy getting this information out to you. Can't wait to share with you a brand new show tomorrow on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday. As always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to pass along to someone else it can serve. So happy you just tuned into today's show, and thank you so much again for your support. I have a very special announcement today. About 4 months ago, we partnered with Blender Bottle to create our own customized Equilibrium Nutrition all-in-one shaker bottles. These water bottles are specifically made to hold your vitamin capsules in one compartment, your shake powder in another compartment, while still allowing you to hold a 20-ounce smoothie or shake. I came across this design a couple years ago and knew that I wanted to adopt it for our online health community. This is literally the perfect shaker bottle to use while completing your Dr. Ball detox or any one of our functional medicine protocols. It makes carrying around all of your supplements easy, and since it's virtually unbreakable, you can throw it in any bag and take it on the run. Plus, we've made this first debut of our exclusive blender bottle a beautiful, one-of-a-kind, all-white limited edition design. And since I love doing these special offers, when it comes to new supplement formulations or natural health products, I want to give away this first run for free. This means that this month, while supplies last, we will ship you the all-white limited edition Pro Stack bottle on us with any qualifying order over $99 at equilibriumnutrition.com. The all-white Pro Stack bottles are a one-time only exclusive giveaway for our community and will not be sold in the future in this current design. To get yours while supplies last, simply go to equilibriumnutrition.com and place your functional medicine, lab, and nutritional supplement order, where you'll then have the option to add this unique shaker bottle free of charge to your order. I'm already using mine and loving it, and I can't wait for you to get your hands on one of these for free. Thank you again for your support, and head on over to equilibriumnutrition.com for all the details and to watch my demonstration video.